Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gateway 614 Some podcast series. Eventually, I will come up with a new title, but for now, that's pending. My name is Matt Gaudreau, and I'm going to introduce my panel. Kevin Montez.
Yo.
Sean Nasuti.
Hello.
And August Rush King.
Hey.
Mike's here in spirit.
I'll never escape that.
I can stop saying it if you want.
No, you're not. No, but you're not the only one.
So tonight, with Man of Steel coming out, we're going to take a look at all the Superman films. We'll be reviewing 1, Superman 2, both cuts, Superman 3, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, a little jab at Supergirl, and then we're gonna touch on the newest film, Superman Returns, building up to Man of Steel. So the first one came out in 1978, directed by Richard Donner, and really is the first big superhero movie. We did a comic book show, a top 10. I know a couple of us had it, and I feel like we talked about it there, but I'll just say that it's pitch-perfect casting, pitch-perfect music, the chemistry works, the pacing works really well, it's not slow. Originally, 1 and 2, for background, they were conceived as one 4-hour film, but producers being what they are, I mean, I hate the producers for Superman for doing this to Richard Donner. Not only did they tell him to cut it, they told him to put in an ending to the first one. They told him to...
a stupid-ass ending.
which I will explain later. And then eventually, he got kicked off Superman 2, undeservingly. But I give the first one a 4 out of 4. I love it. Next.
Hold on. I want to give the first one a 4 out of 4 because it gets so perfect most of the time. But I'm sorry, I just can't get over that ending. I have to knock it down to a 3.5. But everything else apart from that is just note perfect in almost every regard. It's a true superhero epic. Also, not just a regular superhero movie. Go ahead.
I agree with Augie. Like, I wasn't too big fan of the ending, but I did love the hell out of that score. And and I really love Christopher Reeves as the role of Superman. I give it a 3.5 out of 4.
He is Superman.
Indeed.
He is Superman.
Yep. And I pretty much agree with everything you guys said. Christopher Reeve, he's perfect as Superman, but I'll say he's also he's perfect as Clark Kent too, because he's he's unsuspecting, especially considering the stupid glasses thing that manages to fool everybody.
Everybody makes fun of.
In Superman 2, there's a scene where Lois cleans his glasses. I'm like, why doesn't someone recognize him? It's like,
somebody turn around and look.
Notice him, for God's sake. But and I guess let's talk about the ending for a minute, because so Superman, he flies super fast and goes back in time so he can save Lois from dying. But again, the big question is, if he's so fast, how can he grab both? Why can't he grab both of Lex Luthor's missiles at that speed?
Because he was too late.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, you had something to say?
Even for a superhero movie, making time travel backwards by going super fast is a really tough pill to swallow.
All right. Here's why I'll defend it. It goes against the whole Jor-El's whole statement of saying that you're not allowed to interfere, and he does it for selfish reasons, which they build upon in the second one, and also not to the producers forced him to put in that ending, because originally the ending was supposed to be of the first one that Lois is alive, like that whole scene's cut out, and he gets both missiles, and it ends with the missiles breaking out the Kryptonians from the Phantom Zone. And it says and then it says Superman will return in Superman 2. That was done. That was Donner's plan, but the producers told him because they told him to split it into 2 movies, and they forced that ending in.
Really, that would have worked out perfectly. That's other ending.
That's why I hate the producers for this film and their logic. Like, if you listen to the commentary, Donner gives them so much shit.
Yeah. Boom, right there. With that ending, I'm at a 4 out of 4. But no. That would have been a perfect lead-in.
Yeah, it would have been. But anyway, as it is, I give it a 5 out of 5. I mean, it's pretty much perfect.
So let's go on to Superman 2, which was partially directed by Richard Donner, but then he was fired because the producers wanted a more comedic approach to Superman, so they added Richard Lester, who I don't know what else has he done.
Hard Day's Night.
Three Musketeers.
Oh God.
Hey, his Three Musketeers is a lot of fun.
Is that the one with Charlie Sheen and?
No. He's the one with Oliver Reed and Christopher Lee and Faye Dunaway. And Michael York. It's the '70s version.
Okay.
It's really fun, actually. I can see why they hired him.
Superman 2 came out in 1980, and so we'll first take a look at the Lester cut. Who wants to go first?
One of you guys can go.
Okay. Even though it's very clear which stuff was added in a lot of parts and a lot of really detrimental stuff, I think even though every other minute it's like fighting off, it's like almost trying to sabotage your enjoyment. I still, it's a really good movie still, regardless of a lot of the forced humor or the ridiculous superpowers that they add in that don't make much sense. Because it does the thing that Spider-Man 2 does so well with, him giving up his powers so he can be with Lois, and of course Zod is the best of the Superman movie villains.
Indeed.
I'm going on record by saying he's my favorite comic book super movie villain ever.
I mean, he completely owns this role. He's...
You still there?
commanding, he's threatening, and even with I'm here. And even with a costume that doesn't look all that threatening, he manages to make it work, and he's a great villain.
He's also short too.
I mean, it's the '80s, so with that costume, yeah.
That's why he needs. That's why he needs Superman to kneel, so he doesn't look so tiny.
Ew.
I'm trying to think. I think also, despite the clear additions in the Lester cut, I still think it's a great. I still think it ties in really well with the first one. It still keeps up that epic kind of.
It feels like part two.
That epic mythology type of spirit that the first one had, where it's still taking itself seriously even when it goes into some juvenile territory. I know it's two competing tones, but I think the seriousness is enough to overcome some of that, and it still comes out as a solid movie.
What would you give it?
3 out of 4.
Okay. Kevin, you're awfully quiet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's contemplating.
Well, he's not. We should preface this by saying none of these guys, other than me, are big Superman fans. I've read Superman a lot. He's my second favorite standard superhero. He's technically number 3 because I consider the X-Men number 2.
Yeah, well, again, my favorite DC hero is Batman, but I've been a fan of Superman. I just mainly been the movies, really. I haven't seen the animated series.
For me, Superman 2, when I first watched it was just on Netflix, and I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the comedic approach towards it, though I did like the casting for Zod and the villains. And that one thing that really bothers me is when Superman throws the S.
That Family Guy makes fun of.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? Ha! It stopped you, It stopped you, didn't it? I guess it did.
Don't forget Super Kiss.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll touch on that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's one other power they add in, but I can't remember.
Besides the Magic Kiss and the S, they have the telekinesis.
Yeah.
Where'd that go?
I was about to say wall repairing ability, but that's in 4.
That's in in all of them.
No, that's just in 4.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah. And also another scene I wasn't too big on was Like, it was, like, right a bit after the opening when they're in Niagara Falls, and Lois Lane randomly falls off the railing, and he becomes Superman.
Well, she was trying to figure out that Clark was Superman.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of 2, to be honest. I haven't seen the Donner cut, so I really can't give much opinion on it. But, I mean, from what I saw, I'd give it a 2.5 out of 4.
Okay. Sean?
Okay, again, like Kevin, I haven't seen the Donner cut, but with the Lester cut, again, it's pretty clear that you can see what scenes were shot by Lester and what scenes were shot by Donner, because those scenes are more serious in tone. But aside from that, I mean, well, it is a lot more slapstick humor. I don't think it's as distracting as the next film. So as a whole, it's not as good as the first film, but it's still pretty good. I give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, so I think everything you guys touched on I agree with, but I also like to add this is my favorite villain team-up, if you want to call it that, because Lex is only there as the ends to justify a mean.
Yeah.
And I think all of his all my favorite Lex stuff is in 2.
I was going to say...
in the Lester cut, he didn't agree with the firing of Donner, so he's not really in I think I remember he's not in the Lester cut that much after at the end.
I think my favorite Lex Luthor moment, at least of the, is when Superman suddenly appears in the Daily Planet building. He's like, "Oh, Superman, thank God." I mean, go kill him.
Now, my issues with the Lester cut, in addition to the comedic, I feel like this is partially due to happen circumstance, but there's a lack of consistency between the seriousness and the Lester scenes, like all the stuff with the Kryptonians. It's very uneven. Superpowers made up in the spot, and I'm not a fan of how Superman basically kills the Kryptonians at the end, because the Kryptonians do not believe in mass murder, which is why Jor-El throws them in the Phantom Zone. Also, not a fan of the Green Crystal Ex Machina, of him getting his powers back, and L'Rell doesn't work as well as Jor-El does.
Yeah.
So I'm at a 2.5 out of 4 on the Lester cut. Maybe this is partially because I've seen the Donner cut, which I'll touch on now.
I was going to say, so how was the Donner cut?
So basically, Richard Donner was able to get the financing, and he finally put out his own cut, which it's not a complete cut because there is stuff used by Lester to fill in the gaps, but it's a much better film. It's much more serious in its tone, and it shows all the best scenes were shot by Donner. All the Lex scenes were with Donner. The scene with Zod in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene taken out that was put back in this cut, which is one of my favorite scenes, is where Zod picks up a machine gun in the White House and just starts shooting people.
I think I've seen that scene before.
There's no more stupid powers. The throwing the S is gone.
No stupid humor.
Yeah, the terrorist plot is gone. Mount Zodmore is taken out. And there's a whole new opening with where it actually shows them being condemned to the Phantom Zone, but it's different than the first one. It's longer. It just shows the part after it, because you know how in the first one they just get thrown in after. Mm-hmm. But like the elders talk in this one, and then him and Jor-El have like this confrontation. And it shows like, the baby going by, and then the missile breaking the Kryptonians out. In this one, Lois is a lot smarter because she figures out in the first 10 minutes that Clark is Superman. Because it opens after the flashbacks. It goes to the Daily Planet, and Lois has a picture of Superman. She colors it with the hat and glasses. So the Niagara Falls scene makes a lot more sense, except she doesn't jump out. They go there, and instead of him catching on fire like in the Lester cut, she shoots him with a gun. And, but he goes, "So if you were wrong, you would have killed Clark Kent." And she goes, "Blank rounds." And he just gives her this look. So she's a lot better. And also the usage of Marlon Brando is a lot better because it's not just him listening to an automated message. It's him actually having an argument with Jor-El. And it shows him getting his powers back. It's not like the green crystal's gone. Now the ending is the spinning world thing, which is where it was supposed to be. Except it wouldn't have been, because it was also supposed to be in this one, Lois dies.
Yeah.
So the spinning the world thing would have made a lot more sense. I mean, I'm still not a huge fan of it, but that's why you can't watch these two films that get that 4-hour epic that was intended. And Zod doesn't. The Kryptonians don't get killed. Superman takes their powers away because he tricks them into going into the machine that takes his powers away, and them and Lex get arrested. So,
I actually want to touch on something with these first two movies that we kind of skipped over because everyone talks about Christopher Reeve, Gene Hackman, and Terrence Stamp, but I think Margot Kidder's Lois Lane might be my favorite superhero love interest.
Yeah,
in movie form at least.
Especially in this one because she's a lot smarter.
Exactly, because she doesn't feel just like the tag-along girlfriend who's just there, because she has to be there. She really feels like a real fleshed-out character, and the spunky attitude that Kidder infuses her with makes her much more fun to watch and interesting.
And my last big point against the Donner cut is that the scene in the Lester cut where he goes into the diner and gets beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that he goes back to the diner after he spins the world around and beats up the guy. But the problem is everyone recognizes him, so it makes no sense.
Oh.
So because of that and the inconsistencies, I'm at a 3.5 out of 4. If it was 100% Lester Donner footage, it probably would be a 4 out of 4.
Aren't there some incomplete special effects and?
Because what happened was Reeve hadn't bulked up yet.
Yeah.
So they used screen test footage for the scene with the gun.
That's right.
So he looks 50 pounds lighter. But it doesn't take away because it's just interesting to see all this new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really like it. I think it's a huge improvement over the Lester cut. Still not complete, but, it's interesting. Augie, why don't you take the next one?
Okay. Well, despite Lester and the Salkin's best efforts, Superman 2 still turned out to be a mostly good movie. However, once Donner is completely cut off from the series and it's just pure Salkin and Lester, the end result is Superman 3. And this isn't a superhero action movie. This is a superhero comedy. Well, it's not even a Superman comedy. It's the Richard Pryor comedy hour with Superman tagging along, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, the opening credits is just a slapstick montage. From
so many wah-wah moments, it can break a wah-wah machine.
From minute one, they already let you know how it's going to be, and it's not good. It will not be good. But without being too negative, I do think there is a bunch of good stuff in it. I even though it wasn't, completely well executed with the evil Superman stuff, I really liked how this one was about trying to return to his roots and about his values and his life in Smallville and finally making Lana into a character, and those were actually, I really liked those scenes with Clark and Lana. I thought they had a really sweet tone to them that I thought worked a lot. And pretty much everything involving Smallville, I think, works here. Everything else, on the other hand, does not so. Starting with his poor villains. Or, it's not even a villain, it's a computer. The villain ends up being a supercomputer, which makes Terminators on the fly.
And somehow artificially creates kryptonite, even though there is a substance in kryptonite that cannot be found on Earth.
Well, it's not really kryptonite. It's like fake kryptonite. That's why he turns to evil Superman instead of being
I know,
injured.
but still, they try to make kryptonite.
It is stupid as all hell, though.
Isn't 3 to 1 with Richard Pryor?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's not funny.
Oh yes, I know, and he
has more screen time.
He definitely does have more screen time than Reeve. It's ridiculous.
I mean, they were trying to make it funny, so I would know. I would assume that's why they got Richard Pryor to begin with. I
Yeah, but
mean,
the problem is it's a family movie, and Richard Pryor's humor was always more risque, and
yeah, it's true. And it's not funny.
I love Richard Pryor, but Jesus, man.
See, and not only is it not funny, but there's a lot of it. They try to shoehorn in some kind of slapstick gag in almost every scene. And it's painful to watch because 90% of it falls flat.
I can't remember anything that made me laugh.
Yeah, I honestly, I can't remember anything either. There might have been like one line here or there that I thought was amusing, but it's, yeah. And actually, even though the quote-unquote dark Superman stuff doesn't work, I think the fight in the junkyard is kind of fun to watch. It's stupid, but it's fun to watch, I think.
That's one of the only highlights of the movie, really.
Yeah, it's my favorite scene.
Because otherwise, what's Dark Superman doing besides straightening the Leaning Tower of Pisa and
Vandalizing property.
and breaking beer bottles with nuts? He doesn't even do anything evil. That's the thing. It's like they try to make him like, bad Superman, but
I think they were trying to do Bizarro, but there was something with the copyright that they couldn't do it.
yeah, I was wondering that too as I was watching.
It was also the same thing. The computer was supposed to be Brainiac. Brainiac was supposed to be the main villain. Which I'm still pissed that he hasn't been in a movie yet.
I don't know. I'm sure they might put him into the next Man of Steel.
I hope so, because I don't want Lex Luthor again. I don't want Lex Luthor again.
Well, I feel like, not to go on to Man of Steel, but I feel like if they do Lex, because they're starting out big with Zod, I feel like if they do Lex, he'll be, like, helping the main villain.
Just get Michael
I
Rosenbaum,
know
please.
established that Lex is in the universe because in one of the, I think the third trailer, when you see the shot of the, like, I guess, asteroids crashing down into Earth, apparently the Lex Corp building is one in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also, no, this is Superman 3 is the only one in the original series without Lex in it.
Because Gene Hackman didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But Mark
for good reason.
was mad at the Falcon, so they were just like, hey, you're just going to get a cameo, that's it.
Well, see, I think it was, like, neat and a bit original to say, like, you know what, we don't need the main girlfriend for this one, we can try to characterize, the other woman in his life, which I thought was nice.
I mean, I like the actress who plays Lana.
You said you do?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, it's really good, because it's, obviously, it is somewhat romantic, but it's not like, it's not a repeat of Clark and Lois. It's more of like a mutual friendship type of thing. What else?
I think the Webster character is horrible.
Oh yeah, and
there's a line where he goes, "Today coffee, tomorrow the world."
Yeah, and it's not like, and Robert Vaughn isn't a bad actor. It's just he's just given nothing good to work with, really. He's just a standard rich millionaire who just wants more power, really.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
He's
to him.
Rupert Murdoch. If he
Lex
was a
Luthor.
Superman.
Actually, I had that thought when I was watching the movie. It's like, he's pretty much just, he's Lex. But not Lex. Also,
Gene Hackman, that's for sure.
the pointless as hell fire scene at the factory,
Oh, God.
which has an awesome and creative special effect at the end, but there's no point in it in the movie. It goes on for like 10 minutes, and it could have easily been cut and save us about 5 minutes of Jimmy going out there just for him to be sent back.
Yeah. All right, let's give ratings.
Because of the Lana stuff, I won't give it a 1 out of 4, but I'll give it a 1.5 out of 4.
I'll give it a 1. It's one of those things where it's like I saw it once and I have no desire to ever watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give it about a 2 out of 5 just for that fight scene, and again, even with the really bad material around him, Christopher Reeve is still very good as Superman.
That's true. He is.
He's always good, even in the next one where he had every right. He had every right in the next one to just phone it in, but he didn't.
Well, okay, I was thinking of another one that doesn't have him in it.
So
which is
Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, which is the only Superman film with a subtitle, and boy oh boy, it is not subtle in the least. They might as well have gone back and like called Superman 2 The Wrath of Zod and Superman 3 The Search for Kryptonite or something.
Should have named it like Pryor's Wrath or something like that.
The Wrath of Pryor.
It's like, how about we should have just named this one Superman 4. No more nukes, please. Please. Stop with the nukes. Can we all live happily ever after without weapons?
God, Sean, why don't you take this one?
Oh boy. Okay. Give me a second. I'm sorry. Okay. Superman 4. I think I remember a good point that was made in like that the Superman films had a pretty parallel run with the original Batman films. Like the first one is regarded as the best of that series. The second one didn't get as good reviews as the first one, but it's gotten the general okay reception. Though I know Matt hates Batman Returns. But anyway, moving on. The third film is where the series starts to go into the decline, and the fourth film pretty much kills the franchise.
I just want to preface this by saying Batman Forever is a far better film than Superman 3.
Well, oh yeah, no, it is. Even though I don't like Batman Forever, it is much better than Superman 3.
Yep. But anyway, Superman 4, kind of like Superman 2, had a troubled production because the producers, I think they cut the budget because they had a lot of films on their plate. So Superman 4 had like
they handed it to Canon.
Glenn and Globus.
Why?
Yep. After the bombing of Supergirl, the Salkins handed the franchise to Canon and Golan Globus.
It wasn't Superman 3?
Nope.
Nope.
Well, that had a hand, definitely must have.
Yeah. Supergirl was the final straw, but yeah.
Well, I can say really about Superman 4 is almost everything about it is just god-awful. I mean, it feels so cheap, really.
It's worse than Batman and Robin.
Oh, it's because
you know, I think
just for sheer entertainment value.
Batman and Robin, again, it's bad, but it's kind of fun to watch because it's so bad. But Superman 4, no, not the same honor.
Because it's bad while trying to be serious, and that's the worst kind of bad. Like, it's trying to take itself so seriously and so earnestly that it chokes on itself, and not having a crew behind it that could pull it off in any way. And even the main actors, like, I mean, they're good in the roles, but they don't. No, even they don't seem to have that same like total spark that they had in the first two.
Reeves fine again as Superman, but you can see he's like, just get this over with.
Oh, and Margot Kidder is the same way too. She looks like she just is just.
And it looks like they just woke up Gene Hackman off a cot.
Yeah, they woke him up and said, "Oh, and by the way, you're going to spend half the movie with John Cryer." No.
I don't even think John Cryer is that bad. It's just they gave him some awful material.
He has the worst line in the movie.
Which one?
Hey, look, it's the Dude of Steel.
Oh, boy. Oh,
God. Actually, even though it was I've seen it done in other superhero movies, I feel like the double date scene was just really forced.
Oh my god!
And it goes on for so long too. And the problem is, like, they introduced that whole subplot with the other company taking over
the Rupert Murdoch villain.
Yeah, but apart from putting the guy's daughter in peril, it doesn't tie into the main story at all. Oh, and
here's the thing about that. There's over 40 minutes cut from the final product, so
yeah, that's what I heard.
Most of it was probably in that.
Oh, and when they do put the daughter in peril, they throw her into space, but apparently there's oxygen in space because she can breathe perfectly fine.
That's exactly. I was also gonna say that, and in the deleted scene, because as in the beginning of the film, as the world is dealing with this like nuclear crisis, like this young kid in this school from like, I don't know where it is, but just comes and calls. I mean, writes the letter to Superman, and then in the original cut, he leaves right as Superman goes to the peace conference.
Yep.
But in the deleted scenes, he brings the kid into space, and I'm like, really?
Let's not forget.
Seriously, he brings the kid into space.
Man.
I'm not joking.
Like, really? That's what you came up with? It's bad enough. Then they gave it Gene Hackman's voice.
Oh, yeah, the Nuclear Man?
Yeah.
That was so distracting. Not only that, but whoever the actor was that played Nuclear Man was just hamming it up. He was like, look, this is a low-budget effort. No one else is giving a shit. I'm going to go all out and just scream enunciate all my lines.
I don't even know what to say about this movie. There's some terrible effects. I mean, they use that Superman flying shot over and over. The fight in space, you could see the black curtains.
Actually, you know what? I thought the most offensive part was when they completely force a terribly done redo of the iconic
flying scene
from the first movie, and then
the magic
right
kiss.
After that, they have the audacity to repeat the stupid mind wipe kiss right after that, just to rub it in.
And that makes you wonder: does Superman do this often?
Oh my god! I know. How many girls is he taking out and then roofying with his magic kisses?
Well, he doesn't. Speaking of date rape.
Well.
Oh, I'm gonna save it. I can't think of anything good. I mean, the cast they're fine, but
they've been better.
Yeah, and don't see it. I can't recommend this movie. Even for it's not like Batman and Robin where it's like you have to see it because it's so awful.
Yeah.
0.5.
0.5 out of 5. If it wasn't for Reeve, I'd give it a plain 0.
Now, quick note for me, because I know my cohorts don't want to touch on this one. If you can believe it, though, there is a Superman movie that is worse than Superman 4.
Yeah, it's called Superman Returns.
We'll
get to that one.
It's prior to Superman 4, the Salkins tried to do a Supergirl adaptation. And I mean, I'm not even going to say anything because the movie doesn't warrant any explanation. It doesn't have any explanation. It makes no fucking sense. It's 2 hours of running time. Its original cut was 2.5 fucking hours. And
oh my god.
And they cut it down to 2 hours, and I'm sure there wasn't any sense in the original cut either, but put it to 2 hours, and it's surreal in what's going on. It's so nonsensical that it can't be described. And in the end, it's quite a feat to be worse than Superman 4. But this one accomplishes that.
Probably. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I've heard how bad it is.
Okay, they wanted to get Reeve to do a cameo, and he refused.
Yeah,
he
was there. He was like, no way.
And this movie spares no expense at mentioning either Clark or Superman in every other scene, just to remind you that this is part of the same franchise with movies that are much, much better and you'd much rather be watching than this one.
Apparently the only explanation is that he's apparently on a world traveling thing or something. I don't know.
It's a background, like a radio broadcast, you hear them saying it.
Yeah, that's all I know.
It is a point. I would give it a 0.5 because it's so campy and out there that it's a curiosity.
Yeah. Well, okay. And I guess now we're going to be moving on to Superman Returns, which was Warner Brothers' first attempt at reviving the franchise, but of course didn't really turn out that well. So now we have Man of Steel. Should we start with you because we know where this is going to go? We know where this is going to go.
Okay.
When
I saw Batman Begins, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I was like, you know what? They found a way to make a reboot, to do something different, and they used certain elements. And then I was excited when I heard they were going to do something similar with Superman. And I was 13. I was like, you know, I love Superman. I'm going to go see this. And when those opening credits started, I started geeking out because they had the John Williams theme. They had the same, I think they have the same credits scene.
Like, pretty much. For this new one, they have like more, it moves around more because the original film, it just shows the credits in space, really. But
and then after,
like they show planets.
And then after 20 minutes, I saw what Bryan Singer was trying to do and what he was actually doing. He was trying to capture the Superman films of Richard Donner, but the problem was he didn't understand them. It's filled with overwhelming nostalgia, and what you get instead is a very long, very drawn-out film with no realized characters or ideas. The movie relies entirely on homage, and it becomes super distracting. Because it seems to be in the same universe, but it's confusing at the same time. You get direct mentions of, let's see, Lex's first scheme. You get mentions of how he's been in the Fortress of Solitude, Lois's first interview with Superman. And then you get these stupid gags that they throw in, like Lois's smoking habit, the henchwoman with the dog, the Mount Rushmore gag, which is Mount Zod.
Parker Posey in comic books.
And then you got Clark saying swell. And then you got Lex pretty much repeating lifted dialogue. Like his whole speech. They
even used Marlon Brando in some, even though the guy's dead.
Right.
That was 2 years.
Can I finish my rant before you guys interrupt?
God.
You get lifted dialogue where he gives this whole monologue about paying out the nose for land, which is exactly the same. But at the same time, the dumbass himself, Bryan Singer, decides to make it seem like they're the same exact people, but he makes them totally different. They make Lex Luthor pretty much a mix of Gene Hackman's Lex with the Smallville Lex. But he has the same mistakes that he makes in the first film. Lois has been reduced to a bland, cold, unimpassioned person. She has none of the spunk or the smarts that Margot Kidder had. And then the worst offense of all is Brandon Routh as Superman. He is fucking terrible. He's timid and brooding, and that's when he's Superman. When he talks as Superman, it's like a false confidence. It's like he's putting on an act. And then you get to Clark, where he's just bumbling. But it's not charming, and it's hard to distinguish the two. To me, it feels like he's Clark Kent all the time. I would have been happy if they got Tom Welling from Smallville to play the part, because at least he would have been more believable than fucking Brandon Routh. That costume is fucking terrible, and it's not fun to watch. This movie's not fun at all. So, who is this movie for? Because it's trying to do something new, but at the same time, they're trying to suck off Richard Donner's dick. And then, so the movie starts, and then you got
that should have been the subtitle for this one.
You got Superman leaving, which completely defies his character arcs from the first two films. Get it, Bryan Singer, because you said you wanted to be so fucking close. So didn't he learn a similar arc in Superman 2 that he has to put others before he puts himself? That seems really... And then they never fully say what happens out in space. What happened? Why did his ship crash? What did he find out there? That's the problem. There's great themes, and it goes nowhere. The biggest one, this movie tries really hard to focus its main theme on who is Superman and what does he stand for. It goes nowhere. All the arcs are stupid, and then why the fuck does he have a son? Why? And then that arc. No, shut up. This arc is
from the second movie.
Yeah, but you would think because they're trying to make this a somewhat sequel that he would have learned his lesson. And then all the arcs convert. He was raised on small town values in Smallville. I know he slept with Lois, but you don't see him actually doing the dirty deeds. So I would have figured that he had enough moral responsibility to not do that, and then he does learn his lesson. And all the arcs converge on the same spot. The movie misses the main point of why we need Superman, because Richard is only there to be the tired out third wheel in a love triangle, and Lois rejects him for leaving. We only need him, apparently, for his powers. This makes everyone entirely selfish in the movie. And how does he know Jason is his son? The only time Jason shows super strength is when he picks up the piano and throws it, which he was not fucking there for. The movie needed consequences. And Superman's not proactive. He doesn't take any responsibility. He leaves for 5 years. He doesn't tell Lois that that's his kid, that he's the baby daddy. He doesn't tell Richard. Acting is fucking atrocious. The only person who I like in this is Kevin Spacey. But that's because he should have been in another film. He feels like he should be he's in a totally different movie than everybody else. Parker Posey is exactly the same. Totally wasted. And is James Marsden, a guy who actually could have fucking played Superman. And he's reduced to a third wheel. And he's inconsequential. And I don't understand why he left X-Men to play this character. Now, despite that, I'm going to give this movie a 1.5 because
You say that so begrudgingly.
because it's not as bad as 3 and 4. Solely for the small details. Like, I love Frank Langella as Perry White. Kevin Spacey has some good bits, of course. Him yelling wrong. That's my favorite scene in the movie. The plane scene's really good, which is sad because that's the best action scene in the movie. And but at the same time, this movie just frustrates me so much. You know how Mike talks about Alien 3? Well, this was my Alien 3.
Yeah.
Fuck this movie.
Yeah.
And Bryan Singer, you have a huge demerit on your record because of this film. Because you fucking ruined this movie and you ruined X-Men by leaving
X-Men.
and taking James Marsden with you.
Yeah, just stay on for Superman. I'm sorry, X-Men 3. Maybe that one would have been better.
For the love of God, somebody go.
Okay, who should start next? You or me, Augie?
You go ahead.
Okay, okay, Matt, I agree with a lot of points. Like, A, it's too long. I mean, it's like 2.5 hours, and aside from some action sequence, it's just talk, and it's just boring. Also, I think I noticed this recently. If you think about it, it's actually not a really uplifting movie if you think about it.
It's not.
Superman just brutes all the time, all that crap. Okay, then, what else? Okay, acting-wise, Brandon Routh, I never really minded him, but Kate Bosworth, yeah, she's terrible. She's no Margaret Kidder.
She's no
Kevin
actress,
Spacey
period.
and Frank Langella are fine. I think James Marsden's fine too, and I agree. Why wasn't he Superman? Really? He could have been a great Superman.
You
looks
know what
like
the weird
it.
thing is? It's a sequel to the other ones, but most of the characters look like they're 10 years younger.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, they try to make it the same characters, but they make their personalities so totally different that...
Yeah, so much that Superman is pretty wooden.
Yeah.
And also that, again, the whole thing about connecting to the first two films. Just do what Nolan did. Just reboot it. I mean, that's what they're doing with Man of Steel. They're rebooting it. So, why not do what Man of Steel is now doing? Seriously.
Final rating.
But, okay. Final rating, I know I just rated this movie today on Flickster, but, I'd say like 2.5 out of 5. I don't know.
I'm trying to think how to go
you
about
anything?
this. Okay. Airplane scene, cool. I really like Kevin Spacey. I'm trying to think because you guys hit like almost all the points. Despite being overlong, I thought it was an okay movie, and I like Brandon Routh. 2.5 out of 4. Bye.
Oh boy. Augie, Matt's gonna kill you now for saying that.
Hiding.
To me, this is a film I liked it.
No,
Honestly, I liked it the first time I saw it. But
I mean-
once the nostalgia wore off of a new Superman movie, I realized it's shallow and it's terrible.
I see what
To
you
be fair, I haven't seen it in 4 years, but
Me neither. I've only seen it twice. I saw it when it first came out.
I've been the most recent seeing it.
I saw it when it first came out, and I saw it right before The Dark Knight came out. And
I plan to preserve my mildly positive thoughts.
and I will give it another look. But I don't know if I can bring
You
myself.
probably hate it more.
I probably
Yeah,
would.
probably.
So I'm gonna keep it safe. So we can all say the best one is the first one,
Yes.
and then
And worst, Matt, are you gonna say Superman Returns for worst?
no 4.
Yeah, 4. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I just want to add it one more time, just because Kevin Spacey is Lex Luthor. Wrong. Sorry, had to do it. I wanted to use it.
That was like Neil.
I was gonna say, wrong is pretty much Lex Luthor's Neil.
It's just, to me, he should be in a totally different movie. Because he's so much more into it than everyone
I was
else.
gonna say, he's in a better movie.
I guess Michael Rosenbaum said no.
I would go from best to worst. 1, 2, Returns, 3, 4, and then Supergirl.
I'd go.
Like,
Supergirl's
her own category.
Yeah. I'd go 1, Donner 2, Lester 2, 3, Returns 4.
Okay, and for me, 1, 2, obviously the Lester cut. Slight edge of Returns over 3 and 4 because, I mean, I think it's at least it's not. I don't think it's as bad as like 3 or 4, but yeah, Returns.
By
yeah,
default, though.
Yeah.
I think considering the other reason I hate it, it was 25 years. Actually, 30, almost 30 years.
Almost 30. Well, they ignore the events of 3 and 4.
Rightfully so, but...
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but come on, like, even if something's bad, like, you know, and you're in the same universe, just accept that it existed, you know. You screwed up, but you should own up to your mistakes. I mean, it is kind of a cheap move just to say, yeah, nah, those